Hello, good morning from Kunsthall, chère Jester, dear friends. I have the pleasure to welcome you and say a few words as an introduction to this fantastic exhibition, a little larger than the entire universe, that we are sharing today with the public. The master exhibition from the Art Academy, Faculty of Art, Music and Design, KMD, at the University of Bergen is a long-standing part of our program, much longer than the current name of the Art Academy exists, which has gone through various iterations. The first exhibition of graduates took place in 2006, organized with then Kunsthall in Bergen, the Bergen National Academy of Arts, as the first ever MA exhibition from this institution, titled somewhat tautologically, but undeniably correctly, This is Art. But there were already earlier degree shows, diploma exhibitions before the introduction of the MA system, which date further back than our in-house or digital archives reach. The first exhibition we found mentioned in our annual reports took place in 1991, with students graduating from Westlandets Kunstakademie. The point is that this partnership between the Kunsthall and the Art Academy is indeed an amazingly long-standing tradition. It was one of the biggest disappointments of last year, in a year full of difficulties, that the start of the pandemic made the show impossible. The exhibition this year feels all the more special and full of enthusiasm, and the result of an active and so valuable collaboration, which is much more than a tradition, and we're very thankful for that. The master exhibition is an opportunity for Bergen Kunsthall to show the work of young artists at the very beginning of their career. This year, we have the pleasure to experience a constellation of artworks from 27 artists that form a new generation. This is an opportunity that is usually extremely welcomed by our local audiences, who are proud of artists who were educated here and curiously and thoroughly investigate their work. The importance of the exhibition has also something to do with an attention to the social context of artistic production, the networks that surround artists, or which artists are embedded in, always, at least to some extent, even if the reception of artistic work is still very much structured by individual names. In contrast to the genius, Brian Eno has coined the term of the scenius to describe the phenomenon of collective creativity that is able to produce artistic energy. What is interesting in this notion is the change in perspective, in historical but also contemporary terms. Thinking not only of art history, but also the present as something that is not made by singular figures or institutions, but through exchange with collective situations. In recent years, artist groups or local art scenes have become the focus of historical studies. In this context, for example, in Jonas Eckeberg's book Post-Nordisk, which makes an attempt to understand how art scenes become productive and shape certain ideas of Nordic art. For Bergen Kunsthall, as an institution, it is clear that we operate within a local ecology, in exchange too. We can bring ideas and people, we create a framework, but we need also to watch and listen, to be open to needs and desires, and curious to amplifications taking shape. Without such a space of resonance, we would not be able to operate and create a program that has meaning. Without spaces and institutions, not just us, all the places that make up the infrastructures for art and culture here in Bergen, there would be a lack of professional environment and public discussion. The MA exhibition is an incredibly important moment to see the art scene in this city, a very particular part of it, taking form and articulating themselves. We're incredibly happy and thankful that the exhibition for the year 2021 can happen at Kunsthall, thanks to the incredible effort of the participating artists, the staff at KMD, and the curator of the exhibition this year, Adriana Alves, who took care, planned and replanned tirelessly through the unforeseeable and changing conditions of infection control. It feels amazing that we're able to open the exhibition as a physical format, while there are also digital forms of experience for the many people who can't join us here. Much gratitude and admiration also to my team at Kunsthall, the technical team and all aspects of the organization and support for this exhibition, which required extra care and attention, which means more effort and more time. It looks beautiful. My heartfelt congratulations to everybody. And I'm happy to hand over now to two people who will tell more details about the show and its process. To Adriana Alves, who curated this exhibition and who herself was a part of the very first MA exhibition here that I mentioned earlier in 2006. And having her back as a curator is a very good example of the strengths of the art scene here in Bergen. And first, Frans Jacobi, head of department of the Art Academy in Bergen. Thank you.
Dear MA students, dear supervisors, dear Bergen Kunsthall, dear Art Academy, dear KMD, dear everyone who worked on this exhibition, dear Axel, dear Adriana, dear Gabriel, dear Dominique, welcome to the opening of the Master Exhibition 2021. Welcome to something a little larger than the entire universe. At the Art Academy, we are very happy to be back at Bergen Kunsthall, and we are extremely grateful and proud to be able to open this year's Master Exhibition as planned, almost on date. It was actually meant to open yesterday. I would like to say a huge and last thank you to the following persons and organizations: Bergen Kunsthall, to all staff and hired-in crew for a dedicated engagement in a difficult, restricted situation. To Director Axel Vida, for your commitment to keep this important collaboration alive. At KMD, I would like to thank Gabriel Quenset for his participation in the organization and production of this exhibition. Dominique Hirth for her tireless work with the students year after year after year. It is so good to have you as part of this crew. Arthur Huro for his technical support. All the supervisors and all the persons in the study admin who does this secret job behind the scenes. The emneansvarlige Tim and Adria for supporting these students through this difficult year. And finally, and maybe most of all, Adriana Alves for taking on this very difficult, restricted task on a short notice and in a restricted time period as well, and putting such an immense effort into making this happen in the best possible manner. As we all know, it has been a year of strange. We have been in a lockdown, in half lockdown, in almost open, and then back again in lockdown. The conditions for being an art student has been difficult. As an educational institution, we have been improvising, and as students, you also had to improvise to a degree most of us have never tried before. Practicalities has grown to obstacles, and the daily student life has been turned upside down. I'm very impressed, to say the least, that you have managed to create an exhibition such as this. It looks mature and unrestricted, as if it has been an easy process with 200% focus on the artistic aspects of things. Throughout the years, the collaboration between the MA program, Bergen Kunsthall, and the alumni of the Art Academy, that is the recently graduated artist, has created a very strong local arts community. This community has also existed through the year of the pandemic, but with this new master exhibition, we are back in full-scale collaboration. In these years of crisis, it is obvious that there will be a larger focus on the local. That has to do with travel restrictions, both in connection with the corona situation, but in a larger perspective, also as a consequence of the looming climate crisis. But as the last year have shown, the crisis also creates a new emphasis on caring and sharing, that we are dependent on each other and need to take care of each other. It is also in that strong sense that local communities has become important and will become even more important in the near future. The local art scene growing out of this collaboration between the Art Academy, Bergen Kunsthall, and the surprisingly many former students that choose to stay in Bergen is a strong example of such a caring community. The beauty of this community is that it is at the same time very local and very international at the same time. Most of us has arrived in Bergen from other places far away. As graduating students, some of you will choose to stay here in Bergen, and some of you will move to other places and become part of other local art scenes. But as young professional artists, all of you will be dependent on being part of strong local networks, strong local art scenes, to thrive as artists, to keep inspiration going, and to be part of a daily social interaction. If we look at such a local community as an ecosystem, it is a system where each element adds and supports the balance of the whole. With a term from the schizo-psychoanalyst Felix Guattari, we might call such a local community a machinic assemblage, a systemic scenario where each participant plays a functional part in a greater whole. Thinking and working with this term, the machinic assemblage, I have always associated it to a kind of factory. And if we think of the strong local art scene of Bergen, or of any other local art scene as a factory, each of you will now become workers on the assembly line that will take part in the production of surplus value, social and artistic surplus value, which is exactly how this exhibition feels, a little larger than the entire universe. To greet you today on the first day of your new positions as professional artists, I will end this speech with a double-layered quote that somehow guides you into your new position in your new profession. As a last kind of quote from the professor, a last teaching, I found this text used by the artist duo Fischli and Weiss in a mural, a wall painting in public space somewhere in Switzerland. Fischli and Weiss also found the text. They found it on a wall in a factory in South Korea as an instruction to the workers on the assembly line. Might this last teaching be an instruction for you to be part of the surplus value of a local art scene here in Bergen or somewhere else? How to work better. 1, do one thing at a time. 2, know the problem. 3, learn to listen. 4, learn to ask questions. 5, distinguish sense from nonsense. 6, accept change as inevitable. 7, admit mistakes. 8, say it simple. 9, be calm. 10, smile. Thank you.
Good morning to all of you. An opening speech happening, being filmed far away from the artworks. This is a new thing for me, but I guess that this time most that is happening is new for most of us. And yet it just makes sense that it has to be this way, because the alternative would be not to be able to have a public commemoration or celebration of the 27 artists that are opening the show a little larger than the entire universe. For us who have been involved in the show, I'd say that we had a little bit of a marathon, but you guys are done, students, no students anymore, but artists. And I'd like to thank you all for this journey. And I'd like to present them all. I'll say their names in alphabetical order and say a little bit about their work. Alex Hamish Miller has been working with speculative narratives around the Bergen Center for Climate Change. He's exhibiting a piece called Bergen's Experiment, and it's an installation. Then we also have Auður Ómarsdóttir. Their works presented an eclectic body of work, paintings and sculptures, with lots of references to expressionism, pop culture, and kitsch. Then we've got Sheng Ting Ting. Ting Ting is also presenting a selection of paintings from her series The Night Walk. Her work's mostly based on observations of everyday life. The next one is Dan Brown with an installation that could be seen as some sort of ceramics in the expanded field. He sort of mimics the glazing in ceramics with unexpected materials. Then we've got Derek Sargent. He's exhibiting a project called the Grave Project. It's a collaboration with a fellow artist called Jess Milley. And it's basically like an archive on historical individuals that have been important for queer and non-normative culture. Then we've got Fergus Tibbs. He's exhibiting an installation upstairs, and his work is pretty collaborative. So the piece is called The Yes Weekend, and he's had 4 helpers during this week to build another space inside Kunsthall using remnants from former exhibitions. Then we have Julia Mangione with a 3-channel video installation called The Anatomy of Restlessness, that deals with the idea of utopia and sort of finding the perfect place to live. And its starting point has been Oleana, a Norwegian settler colony in the US in 1951. Gunhild Sandnes Larsen works with non-figurative paintings in large format, and her painting she uses the format and size to create some sort of like bodily response and create a room inside the paintings. Then we have Ida Westberg working intuitively with something just as time-consuming as weaving. And she's also exhibiting a piece called Q, which are flags outside, silk flags outside of Kunsthall. Then we have Ingrid Forla showing. Ingrid has been working with the idea of fatigue and sort of facilitating for rest. Now she's got some sort of intervention in the architecture that mimics railing, so it goes more to the protectiveness and support. Then we've got one more painter, and it's Jonas Grene, working with figurative paintings, sort of working in with senses of displacement and of experiencing several realities at the same time. We've got an installation from Madihe Garibi. Her background is from script writing, And as most of the students have also to be very flexible, so she works mostly with performers, but she made a video installation that sometimes is activated by a performance and deals with migration. Christopher Martinson, another of the flexible ones. Christopher has been working with Muhammad Ali for years, boxing, and he's not allowed into Norway at the moment, so he will be presenting watercolor and t-shirts based on drawings. Then we've got Margrethe Kule. She's made a pop-up book that sort of gives digital culture a physical format and deals with myths and sort of linking terminology from technology to old folklore and myths. Muhammad Shaheed is trained as a traditional painter and has been working within Eastern miniature painting. And he's got the largest painting in the exhibition, a 10-meter long gouache. This sort of combines Western visual universe with Eastern tradition. Noah Hallström, his practice is basically informed by listening. He's exhibiting an installation and it also, which can be seen in many ways as a transcription of a soundscape into a visual form. Sanna Frostensen is showing the installation practice that sort of intertwines philosophy, religious practice with the process of art making. Sigurd Lerche showing a performance called You Just Pretend to Be Human, that is intrinsically related to role-playing, to digital culture, avatars, and explores sexual fantasies in the digital world. Sigurdardotter with a native piece called What's Left, where she combines symbols and sort of replicates images from doomsday mythology or even like doomsday's narratives from nowadays. The next one will be Sigurd. Sigurd works with painting and works with not just with paintings and also sculptures, and he works with stereotypes of masculinity. Sofia Winter is concerned of how work and career choices sort of are so related to identity. So she's been working on, she's prepared a whole collection of workwear for artists as well, and started logging the time that one spends in art making. It's an installation. Teresa Stenheim, The Clearing, is a sound and light installation, making connections between culture and nature and sort of tracking back where, let's say, objects come from. Terje Abusdal has the project Darkness and Deep, which focuses on the Sea Sami history and the Norwegian assimilation policies that went on for over 100 years. Undevik shows an ink drawing and paintings, based on tracks and around the Bergen mountains, where she sort of processes time and unpredictable. Vegard Ekberg shows a photographic series called Animals that offers an unfiltered and sort of challenging portrait of a couple, of the life of being in a couple, and sort of, it's a very intimate portrait. Victoria Gazda has an installation that addresses to Poland's social situation at the moment, and combines references to DIY aesthetics and kitsch as well. And the last one of the 27 is William, with a video essay called Touched by Air, that dwells with the intangibility of the saying and of the concept that love is in the air. So these are this year's new masters. I'm very glad to be part of the show, that have worked with them all. I hope that most of you watching it at home will be able to come and see art physically, but for those who can't travel, we will have digital tourings available on the internet. And I'd like to thank again all of the artists. I would really like to thank the staff at Kunsthall, especially the technicians. They have done a marvelous work. So Magnus, Thea, Erik, Kristen and Sarah. Thank you so much, and thank you all for watching.